There were around 2,200 people on the Titanic, and some of their stories are well known. Thomas Andrews, Captain Smith, Second Officer Lightoller. But I'm going to tell you about somebody you'll never have heard of. Her name was Hannah Tuma, and she was living in a small village called Tibnin in Assyria, which is now the Lebanon. And in fact, her husband, Darwis, was already working in the United States. She had two children, Maria and George. The family travelled to Beirut by camel caravan, and then they took a freighter to France, and they joined the Titanic at Cherbourg. When the collision occurred, Hannah actually cut her finger, showing that people in third class were much closer to the point of collision than people in first or second. They went up to the top deck, and there for the first time saw people from first class with their furs and evening dress. And then they got into one of the lifeboats, a boat which was actually called Collapsible Sea. Eventually they were rescued, like the other survivors, by the Carpathia ship. George was actually lifted up to the ship in a little cage after the boat sank. And actually when the Titanic sank, Hannah covered the children's faces with her cloak so that they couldn't see the sinking. When they arrived in New York, they were looked after by St. Vincent's Hospital. But the key thing was that Darwis had given Hannah a small piece of paper with the name of where he was living, which was Dowagiac in Michigan. And just actually as she knew the ship was going to sink, she ran back down to her cabin and grabbed that piece of paper. Eventually, a priest was found who spoke Arabic, and a message came to Dowagiac that a woman and two children had survived the Titanic. And so the family were eventually reunited. It was difficult because there were a lot of misspellings of her name because the family couldn't speak English. In fact, it was thought at one point that they were from Syria. The family reunited, and that was actually 56 days after she had they'd left their village. Hannah lived on, and she actually died in 1976. I think it's probably the most unusual of the 12 stories that I feature in the book.